Hello, my name is Roland Junk from EPLAN Canada. In my last video, you saw me actually prepare the data here for smart wiring, the application we give out to an electrician, and the electrician can primarily use this to do the installation in a pretty much brain dead environment. So he just picks up the last project here, looks it up, looks up the wires, everything is there. He can filter, he can organize the way he wants. He just picks up wherever someone else left. Now, as you can see this, in some cases, it's very clear, and I can see here, and this is actually what I want to do with you, is I want to optimize a little bit this panel. Unfortunately, it's already like always started. Some other people have given the go-ahead, and I realize here that there is some room where, we're wasting some spots there. So maybe, maybe we went ahead a little bit too soon and we want to update this. So I'm just going to tell the people, okay, please stop what you're doing right now. And I'm going to jump over to the EPLAN project because I want to really make good use of this digital twin and see what I can squeeze out, because my end customer looked at it and said, yes, this is all fine, but I'd like you to use, every corner, every inch on your panel. And I see at the top there, you're not doing it. The PLC, I'm not satisfied where it is. So the good news is I haven't really connected any PLCs. So I'm going to move a few things around, and maybe I'll have to take away some of these 10 wires that we did place earlier. Maybe not. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see what the outcome is. Smart wiring is made exactly for this. So I'm going to go back into my EPLAN project. I'm going to open the specific project I was working on. Now, in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the digital twin. So we, of course, have here a little bit of room where we can optimize things. So as you know, on the schematic side for now, I'm not going to work. And I'm going to optimize the positioning. Like I said here, I want to move this up a little bit. We have the so-called design mode that might be useful in this particular case, because when you do actually move something, you can specify what exactly you want to move and where you want to move it. So right mouse click, move, and you can specify, okay, this here, let's move it there. That's cool. And from that point on, let's turn off the design mode. I'll be a little bit quicker. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not as good. So I'm going to take this, make this, and stretch them. This is a cool feature. Stretch this up, boom. This guy here, you know what? I'm going to move these guys here. I'm going to move them up to this spot here. Let's see, do I get access to this one here? I'm going to move it. So let's move it up. Let's change a handle. Just click the letter A. There we go. Now let's change the length of this guy here. Let's make it, full blown there. This means these two can go. I'll just get rid of them. Is there a possibility to stretch this guy? No, not necessarily. Do we need it? Not necessarily. I don't think so. Maybe I can take this guy and just stretch it out to here. Cool. It's connected. Okay. Now, what else can we do here? So maybe, we can take, and this was the request for the customer. He wanted the PLC out of the way here and move these ones a little bit up there. So I'm going to stretch this out slightly like this. I'm going to take these guys here, move them right on the spot there. Looks better. This guy here obviously is something I can move there. I'm going to actually turn on what we call the mounting clearances. This guy doesn't have any, so I can just move it there. That's perfect. This guy has a little bit more. So what we're going to do is eventually these, I'm going to just move them and move them up a little bit here like this. And you can see here, if we turn on this at 20 millimeters, 10 millimeters, let's go on the grid and just show the grid. So we can actually count at the top. We want at least like 1 inch in, 1 inch out, right? That's like 2.5, 25 millimeters. This one works. It's a little bit less, but that's fine. So I'm going to move this guy up here. Same thing. Keep it there. So why do I use a grid of 10? Well, very easy. It's because when I do use the Rerouting backplates, they actually have a 10 millimeter marking. So this is cool. This is good. So this guy here, we can just move it. Move it maybe right in and around this corner here to place it in there. So that means I can change the length of this guy. You know what? Better than this. Control Z, Control Z. I'm going to move this guy. Actually, I'm going to move it up. I'm going to move it right there. See? Cool. Even better. So this actually gives me a little bit more room for the this guy. So when you look at the mounting clearance, those guys really have a little bit of that spot. That's cool. Maybe I want to move this one just slightly there, so to clear up, you know, a little bit of room of right and left, just to respect what they want. This here will get rid of it because we have here the PLC, which can be moved right down here. So right in that corner. So that gives me enough room above and below. This guy here this is a power supply. So power supply next to a power supply is not that bad. But if I do move this guy a little bit further over to the left-hand side, which would be fine, I'm okay with that. And I'd be good. So this, of course, is a complete new setup in terms of wiring. Let me just do something down here. Here, I'd like to stretch these down. So I do one final change. Let's have this one stretch here, this one stretch here. Actually, get this guy just a little bit longer. Is it actually doing it? Let me just take away the view mounting clearance. So I said edit, change length. I'm looking at this guy down there, looking at this guy here, giving a little bit more room like this. This is cool. Will I actually allow going through the bottom? No, let's say we don't want this. So we're cool. So here, as far as I'm concerned, this will reroute a few wires, which is perfect. Now that we have a rewired thing here, we have to check this out. Okay. There are some wires that haven't been, cannot connect. Okay, let's see what these wires are. Okay. So it's basically take this off. Let's just understand a little bit better when we actually look at the routing, insert routing path. We can see that we still need a little bit of a routing path here. Go up there. That's one that we need. And there's another routing path I can pretty much use on this side. This goes up and down. It's perfect. This goes here. Eventually, let's try it out again. If I just rerun the routing, you'll see this was actually my mistake, not being able to route this. And I'm pretty sure if I now take these guys and I route them, they will route also nicely. No, they don't. So let's see what the issue is. So this is A1 going to K1, A1 CR1 A1. CR1 A1 A2. Check it out. Wait, bye. There we go. We just got the wires. All the wires are now done and they are connected. So now I can actually take the whole thing. What was my small mistake here? These are 24 VDC wires and they couldn't reach out to this particular portion here. Now I can take this and I can send it over again, export the wiring information to smart wiring. So I just re-export this, right? So I'd say this is my new version. If anyone actually starts or wants to update their data with this one, this is actually an optimal placement because I just made myself a little bit more room. I'm stretching out my components. As you can see, I'm using up everything that was actually to be used up at the very top of the panel. I'm keeping though these rows here where the screws are, and now I'm just calling my electricians and say, hey, you guys, you can go ahead now and do the wiring. That means that they will actually update the existing wiring with what we have now. And what happens now is that here we have a few changes. Length are changed, old value, new value, and I can just update it, which will result in eventually having to remove some of these wires. Here you can see the wire list has been updated. Cool. So, okay, close this. That's perfect. And now I'm going to go with the status here, and I'm going to sort basically with the wires that have to be removed. Okay, because in this to be uninstalled. Okay, so we have a few wires in this whole set that I installed, and you can see the old installed wires, which were pretty much installed here on the old stack. You would actually go and uninstall them. Now you can uninstall a little bit quicker by just uninstalling here, and that basically will allow you to uninstall them. So same, as soon as you see a wire here, you go there and you remove it. Obviously these have to be removed for me to actually go to the next level, which is installing the new concept. Now once this is done, right, then of course you can go back here and say, let's go to the status of those ones that are not installed, and here you pretty much can go to the next layout and say, okay, we're going to check this out here, and we will now install these new wires. And you can see now we are on the new layout, so we have to move these up and down, and you can now do exactly what we did earlier. I'm not going to redo it because the video did it, where you can actually pick either some bundles, you can pick some colors or gauges depending on what you want to work on. So if you want to work on 10 gauges, you want to be very precise and say, okay, I want to wire up everything that is actually to in terms of 10 gauges to the transformer. You can go about and just here's one wire, etc., and you can just work your way through it and install these wires. And as you install these wires, I'm just going to take off the here. As you install these wires, you can see the status that will change from time to time. The wire length is of course a new wire length because these objects have moved from their previous position. So once this is done, now you wired up this transformer. If I get rid of those, I can still again do a search for the TR. You get all the TR wires, etc. Anyways, you can see how that works, and it's quite amazing because I would have never guessed which wires had to be removed among these 10 wires that I actually did install. Since I moved most of the components that are related to these wires, the lengths have changed, and obviously I had to remove a lot of them. Some of these may have been in areas where nothing had to be moved and they would just stay installed. This feature is an awesome feature from the smart wiring combined with the smarts of EPLAN and the digital twin of EPLAN. Of course, in this digital twin here, you want to update your documents in the complete set of documents, you would do always the same thing. Generate the project report, upload it onto EPLAN Cloud so that everyone can see it, and then you can move on from that point. Just perfect. Labels can be exported in one step. Again, no big deal. This is nothing different from what we saw earlier in these tools, right? Remember, we have the marking here that is just basically one click away. Now, nothing has really changed because we have only moved physical things. So the wires are longer, but the labels are exactly the same. So at this point, I mean, I'd get the same result in marking as I would have gotten before. It doesn't change anything because none of that information, the routing length, is actually transferred there. If you would, by instance, use the wire station from Phoenix Contact, then it would change because then the wire length would have asked you to prefabricate new wires for this new project, for these new lengths, and then the wire station, not only combined with your printer, would then cut the wires to the right length. This is a cool feature from EPLAN combined with, again, Phoenix Contact. Or if you use the WT machine from Rerouting, it would print out, so it would produce the wires that you see here with the right length and just put them on a certain hanger. I do have a picture here of the hangers, but the best thing is probably to go and check out the videos from the WT machine. Anyways, I hope this helped you a little bit to see the power and the performance you see behind a digital twin. I honestly prefer this panel layout that you see here than the one that we just had earlier. But hey, this is really a matter of choice and a preference that every company has their own preference in how they do it and how they want their display. But this looks a lot cleaner, I believe, than what we saw a little bit earlier. And all the documentation was just instantaneously up to date. Remember the documentation that comes with EPLAN anyways, whether it's your kitting list, your cutting list, your perforations. You can see here all the perforations information. So all the data for all the holes have been reset from A to Z. Haven't done anything on the door. So of course it's all the same on the door. On the side here, it's all the same because I haven't moved it. When it comes to the panel, of course, this has changed greatly because I have repositioned all my components, a lot nicer than what it was before. On the door, again, nothing has changed, so it stays the same. When it comes to the terminals, terminals haven't changed, so I leave them to what they were, so I didn't really touch those ones. The only thing I did change really is the wire, but then you'd have to compare the wire length of this list with the wire length on the previous list, which is, of course, not necessary if you use the smart wiring, because the smart wiring will actually give you that kind of information. Right? So I hope this was something you learned, why we work with smart wiring, why we work with the digital twin, why we work with 3D environment to actually do the perfect evaluation, to actually do the maximum out of what we have inside this panel, because I want to really maximize the slightest small space that I have, always in regards to spacing that is required by all these components. So I hope you liked it. This was Roland Jung from EPLAN Canada, coming back to, how can I have you save and be efficient while you produce your panel. And this is really the added value during your engineering, sourcing, manufacturing operations. We always come back to the same story. This is the endless loop that you will constantly do every single panel. But of course, what we wish you to do is to do it in a digital form and to turn around the digital workflow as quickly as possible into a real panel. This was Roland from EPLAN Canada.